Welcome to another episode of Ship War, my review of Maleficent. Maleficent is directed by Robert Strongbird. It stars Angelina Jolie and then a bunch of other very talented actors and actresses. Now the premise of this story is basically following the origin story of Maleficent and why she becomes what she becomes in the animated movie Sleeping Beauty. That's all you really have to know going into this film. Now when I went into this film, I went in with no expectations at all because several people that I trust, whose opinions I trust, have told me that this movie was pretty bad, and there was very little positive buzz around this film by the time I actually went to the theater to see it. Going with that mindset into this movie was the best thing I could possibly have done because I ended up enjoying it for what it had to offer. Did the movie have a lot of problems? Absolutely, it had a bunch of problems. There was a lot of things in the movie that I personally did not enjoy, but because of the fact that I went in not expecting it to be a good film, there was a lot of positive things that jumped out at me that I wasn't expecting it to jump out at me. Angelina Jolie was by far the best thing in this movie overall. She was just amazing in the role of Maleficent. I mean, just seeing her gave me chills. There was this one particular scene where you see Angelina Jolie appear as Maleficent, as this evil witch fairy person. I always thought she was a witch, but apparently she was a fairy. And she appears and it looked and felt exactly how it looked and felt in the animated movie. And it gave me chill. That one particular scene just made me enjoy the overall movie because it gave me a feeling of enjoyment that I wasn't expecting to feel with this film. So when that scene happened, I was like, whoa, that is way too accurate to the cartoon in that sense. And there was just particular things that brought me back to the original film. But with that said, there was a lot of things in this movie that definitely contradicts the actual animated film, and it feels like Disney overall is doing that a lot with their more recent movies when it comes to having a female as a lead character. It feels like they're kind of going against what they used to do with their movies, with their Disney princess movies, where the female character wasn't always the very strong character, always a male character that would always have to save them or protect them. While in these movies, these past few movies they've been doing, the female characters that either save each other in some sense or they save the day because of something they did. And as a female, I have to applaud Disney because it's rare to see that in movies. So when it's done, it's kind of eye-opening and refreshing in a way. So I think that's another aspect in the movie that I really enjoyed. But again, even with that, there was a lot of flaws in this movie. My biggest flaw with this film, besides the ridiculous amount of fantasy characters they added in this movie that I felt were unnecessary, just so much CGI that kind of brought you out of the movie, was the fact that the film felt very one-tone. There wasn't any movements of ups and downs when it came to a lot of emotions between the characters and the overall story. I mean, they're there as though they're supposed to be these emotional moments or they're supposed to be moments of laughter, but the way it's presented on screen, it doesn't feel that way. It feels very one-note throughout the whole film. And overall, I really didn't like that because there was moments where I felt myself drifting away from the movie and kind of my eyes were getting heavy and kind of getting bored during certain parts because of that. But aside from those negative things, there were several positive things in the movie as well. So it's one of those movies where I'm really 50-50 towards. In the end, I actually did enjoy this movie a lot more than I was expecting to. I went with my niece and nephew. One's 11, the other one's 12. The male is 11, the female is 12. And they both really enjoyed the movie, which I wasn't expecting at all because me sitting in the movie and feeling kind of bored while watching it at certain points, I felt both of them would have felt the same way as me or even more, but they both actually really liked the movie way more than I did. As for those who I would recommend this movie towards, I would recommend this movie to anybody who's interested in seeing it. Go check it out. You may end up liking it. For those who have no interest in seeing it, I say if you ever have the interest in seeing it, go with really low expectations or no expectations at all. Just go into it as just seeing a movie, and you may enjoy the finer points of the movie. I have to say this movie had great potential to be an amazing film, and there were several things in this movie that just didn't get it there, and it's unfortunate because this could have been a very great movie, or at least a more likable film than it was for me personally, and for a lot of people, I would say. So that is my review of Maleficent. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is directed by Dean LeBlanc. It stars Jay Baruchel and then a bunch of other very talented actors and actresses. The list is pretty endless when it comes to this movie. Now, the premise of the story is a continuation of the first installment of How to Train Your Dragon. It's following the story of Hiccup and Toothless, but this takes place like 5 years in the future. Hiccup is no longer a teenager, he's a young adult, he's in his 20s. His village is no longer anti-dragons,